Charles, welcome to the Knowing Show. Thank you so much for, I'm sorry, you know what? I just said the Knowing Show. Charles, welcome to the Craft and Calling, which is a subset of the Knowing Show. I am so glad you're here, Charles. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm happy to be here. Love talking with you.
You too. We were just together in Austin last week. I got to meet your beautiful wife, Lucy, and it's fun when we start kind of meeting. I met Brianna, your COO. She's absolutely wonderful. It's fun when we start meeting extensions of ourselves. I really have found that when you meet the partner of the person, you just kind of get to know them in so much more of a broad way, and it's almost like an intimate thing to see. This is my significant other. This is like the other half of me. And I know that people don't like saying, we're whole alone. I agree. And there's something about when you're doing life so intimately with someone and then you get to meet both people. It's really special.
It fills in just a little bit more of the story because you get to see them in work and outside of work and who they're partnered in work and in life. And it's really interesting to see. I'm glad she was able to come. Glad you were able to be there, Miss Impromptu Book to Flight at 11 p.m. or whatever it was.
I know. It made for a good story, right?
You got to have the story. I saw the post.
You got to have the story. Seriously, Charles, you've got quite a community of CFOs that are part of kind of the conglomerate of what you've built. And then obviously you're a CFO yourself. So if you don't mind, just talking us through who you are first and foremost, talk about your lovely wife and then talk about what you do.
She's much more lovely than me. But so I've been a full-time CFO of a large company. I restructured a $2 billion a year business unit of a large global manufacturer. And I've been a fractional CFO since 2017. I serve a whole bunch of different industries, mostly online businesses. And then I also teach accountants, fractional CFOs, bookkeepers, the financial skills they need in order to help clients grow their business, be more profitable, get better numbers, and make better financial decisions. Because, as you and I have spoken at length, most people are really good at doing the thing or selling the thing. The finances, not so much. And that's where a fractional CFO comes in.
Fantastic. And that's something, it is really interesting. So before we joined to go live here, I was sharing with you how one of our clients was in the painting industry. They've got a very tenured family brand. And when we first joined, they paid their employees with cash, went to the bank every Saturday, took the cash out, paid them, put the cash in the envelopes and handed it out. And so it was very, very small business, mom and pop style. And throughout our time working with them, transitioned to QuickBooks and ADP for payments, and also started bringing people on, not just hourly, but also in terms of salary. So when it comes to just kind of like the ABCs, where to even start on the financial side for some of these small businesses, specifically in the trades, how have you kind of guided people to re-examine their financials, and even like, where do we even start? What's like the neutral starting point?
Okay, sure. So typically when you're a small business, right, and small is a relative term that can mean anything under really $50 million a year. So that's a wide gap. But
yes,
if you were to just start and you're like, you know what, I haven't been paying too much attention to my finances, the first couple things that I would do is, first off, let's make sure your books are accurate. So usually when I talk to people, they have an accountant, maybe they have a bookkeeper, and I say I'm a fractional CFO, and they're like, I don't need that, I've got an accountant. And I want to be like, stop, pause. Your accountant is really good at putting a number in a box and telling you if you owe money on taxes, right? I don't really care about that, because if we don't make any profit, doesn't matter if we pay taxes. No profit equals no taxes. I want to know, are we making money, and how do we make more money? So your bookkeeper puts the number in the box, takes the receipt, files it away in QuickBooks, which you need. So if you don't have good books, that's number one. Good is accurate, because if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? Like, imagine trying to drive through rush hour traffic with a blindfold on. Would be a pretty bad idea. That's like what operating your business is without books that are done correctly. So that's number one. Number two is, when you get all that information together, how do we make better decisions on it? So you work with a lot of home service businesses, trades, construction, HVAC, all of that. And oftentimes they'll do things like pay employees in cash or just hourly, or they make all these other, I wouldn't say mistakes, maybe I would say missteps that they don't have the clarity in their numbers to make better decisions. So
Right.
sometimes that'll find them bidding and winning jobs that don't make them money, or borrowing money that they don't need, or, running their business almost like paycheck to paycheck, meaning like, hey, I got to run payroll today. I've got just enough in the account for that. Does the
Yes.
owner get paid tomorrow or not? And sometimes they don't have the ability to go like, oh, like maybe I want 2 or 3 more trucks on the road. What is that going to cost? And so they're kind of navigating blindly and just going from the day to day. Pulling in a fractional CFO changes that. So to recap, you need good books, and with those, you can make better decisions to grow. And that's why you need someone like a fractional CFO in your business. Does that make sense?
It totally does. And what you said right at the outset was so meaningful to hear. In order to manage it, you have to measure it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't measure it, you can't manage it. So really, the desire to grow for a lot of these small trade businesses really starts with us looking in the mirror on the financial side. For those who are like, okay, let me start with QuickBooks, because this one company didn't have that. So really, it's kind of steps one through three, let's say. Just going to QuickBooks.com, opening an account. Because Charles, honestly,
Yeah.
and I'm breaking it down to this level because it can feel so daunting if you've never done it before, and it's like, this is so overwhelming. And that's actually something that I've seen a lot when people are talking about AI. And honestly, not that, well, I'll compare financials to AI for a lot of people who aren't familiar with really either one and cultivated either one. It is scary. It's like the unknown frontier, and I know that I should do it. So start with just going to QuickBooks.com. I would assume that that's a URL. And then just go ahead and open an account. And then what do they do next? Do they connect their bank accounts?
So typically in the beginning, yes, you would connect your bank accounts, but then it's going to ask you to do a whole bunch of different things. And we're getting in the weeds here. It's going to have to build a chart of accounts, which is like what each category is, and it's going to start helping you make financial statements. So I would get connected into QuickBooks, but I would find someone who can guide you through that process. A good bookkeeper, a good fractional CFO who maybe has a bookkeeper on their team. You mentioned something earlier that was kind of a big deal. It was finance can be daunting if you've never dug deep into your side of your finances. Like, I don't know how to build a home. All right. I don't know how. I'm pretty handy around the house, but I don't know how to do that. If you were like, hey, here's an empty lot here, build a house, I'd be like, what?
Right.
For individuals who haven't really set up their financial system for their business, it can feel like telling me to go build a house, right? As someone who owns maybe a construction business, they'd be like, cool, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. For me, I'd be like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so step number 1 would be get QuickBooks, attach your bank accounts. Step number 2 would be get a good bookkeeper in there that can start setting up everything for you. Someone who knows your industry. Don't just get any random person. Like, I wouldn't get a plumber to build the foundation of my house, right?
Right.
I also wouldn't get someone who just does concrete work to just do my plumbing, right? There's specializations in each one. And so getting a good bookkeeper to get you set up, that would be number 1 after making a QuickBooks account. That would be the very first thing I do in attaching everything and having it connected. Because just because it's connected, you can't actually do anything with that.
Right. Charles, when you say a bookkeeper, we talked about accountant before. We talked a little bit about CFO. Can you talk about the real difference between all three? What is a bookkeeper? What's the benefit of that? Because again, going back to this one client, I think that they're a really good example for like who this conversation might be tailored for, somebody who's literally starting from scratch. What is the difference between CFO, bookkeeper? Why do you need both?
Okay. So a bookkeeper is someone, you have all your transactions coming through your bank account. They need to go into QuickBooks and they need to put in a category. So if I see you wrote 10 checks, I'm going to look at the register on the bank account and go, there's just 10 checks here. What is this for? I have no idea. But so I would sit down with a business owner and be like, this check for $2,000. Oh, that's a marketing expense. Cool. I'm going to, in our income statement or profit and loss, I'm going to put marketing $2,000. Say I got a check from a customer that's $10,000, right? Well, which customer? What did I sell? Maybe it's a new air conditioning. So I'm going to write new air conditioning sales, $10,000. Maybe I have to do payroll. And so it's putting those things in the right category is what a bookkeeper does. Because at the end of the day, if I see that I have a bunch of money that comes into my bank account and out of my bank account, I don't actually know how much money I made or lost, right? Sometimes, like, for example, you have if you sell a big job, maybe you get paid a little bit in the beginning of the job, maybe towards the end of the job, maybe in the middle, maybe there's different like payment plans or structures or milestones. So just even attributing those to the right time is really important. So a bookkeeper puts the number in the box and assigns it to a category.
Right.
The accountant takes the stuff that the bookkeeper does and helps you file taxes with that. The CFO is kind of the bridge in the middle that looks at both of them and goes, okay, I know that we spent our $2,000 on marketing. I know that we sold, 75 AC unit installations at $10,000 each. These are imaginary numbers. I'm going to figure out what do we need to do to make more money. So the CFO doesn't put the number in the box. They're way more expensive than a bookkeeper. They don't help you file taxes. It's translating everything, turning it into English, sitting down with a business owner and thinking, all right, here's the next 3 steps that we need to do to make more money. That's what a CFO does, is it plays interpreter.
And would you say too, it's also strategic direction? Like, how much is the CFO involved in looking ahead, not just in kind of helping with the reconciliation now and translation of what's going on now?
Oh yeah. So we need to understand what happened, but I really care more about what's going to happen. So, I like to say it's like I've got a crystal ball and I'm here and I'm predicting the future. Pro tip, it's always wrong, but we get less wrong the more we work with a client. But the idea is if I can tell you how much money you're going to have in your bank account in 6 months, right, up or down by 5%, and if I can show you, hey, if you want to grow from 3 million a year to 5 million a year in the next year, here's the exact steps that we need to do. Here's how it's going to look financially every single month along the way. And here's the 3 most important things we need to do between A and B. That's what a fractional CFO does. So do we need to borrow? Do we need to hire more people? Do we need to change our prices? And guide you through that process. Because as a business owner, you know all the things to do. You just need more help on the process and the financial part. And that's what a CFO does. So I like your point of moving to the future.
Yeah. And Charles, I got to say, when I was serving as fractional CMO for particularly a foundation repair and waterproofing business, during that time, I dove deep into the numbers because every single department needs to know how their impact and what they're doing is manifesting on the, let's say, P&L statement or just the books, right? So like me planning on the marketing side with what we're spending, what we're not spending, how we're saving, operating within the percentage that they give me for the budget, and then seeing how that impacts the whole is so important. When a lot of companies, but people on their team are not looking at the true financials. They're like, oh, well, that's the CFO's job or the bookkeeper's job. But the benefit of that is that we can help in terms of, okay, if I'm spending this much to get a lead, let's say, the cost per lead is $250, but then the cost per appointment. So out of all the people coming in through the funnel who are leads, it diminishes more when you get down to the appointment part of the funnel. So now that $250 cost per lead turns into a $400 appointment. But then out of all the people who cancel the appointments, out of all the people who have the appointment and don't sell, well, now our cost per customer is maybe $600. But if our service and our actual transaction, the cost for the good is only $1,000, that's really, really expensive. So that's where looking at the entire customer journey in relation to the cost of the product itself and the cost of the service is so important. One of our clients, another client, they were selling an $1,800 service, which was concrete leveling. And they ended up, when I came on to do kind of an examination of what their marketing was, their cost per lead ended up being, after you weed out all the canceled appointments and then all the canceled projects for the customers, their cost per sale per customer was $1,200. And then that's just the marketing cost. Now you add on the cost of operations. Now you add on the cost of good itself. Well, you're effectively paying your customer to do the work. So this is part of the reason why we need to look at all the different costs in the business against what is even our service cost. Are we even charging enough to begin with? So what are your thoughts on that in that regard?
So I love that. As a fractional CFO, when I work with a good CMO, when I work with a good marketing agency, they've usually collected those numbers, and then we're trying to compare them to the financials to see if those numbers are based in truth or not. And then we're working together. One of my favorite things that I've done is even when I work with, so my typical client is, maybe a larger company. I want to be able to go to the marketing agency and be like, guys, you can spend up to $50,000 or $100,000 or $200,000, $300,000 a month. I need an average cost per customer of this number.
Yep.
And then we have capacity for these number of customers. You fall within those three things, go wild, right? And providing that direction to the agency or to the marketing team on numbers that they know are real, it's going to be a lot easier, because a lot of business owners, when they start to grow, and I'm sure you've seen this, if you go from not advertising to advertising, that's scary. There's money coming out. But if I know that every time I put out $1, it's going to turn into $5, you're just going to open up the spigot, and the business owner is going to have the confidence to keep the spigot on long enough for it to start working. Because it don't work tomorrow. It'd be cool if it did.
Yes.
But when I work with good agencies, they usually bring me on to go, I know this customer can spend more. Either help me get their operations, their finances good enough so they can spend more, or show them the math in a way that makes sense, or to double check their numbers so that way we can. So when you work with a good marketing agency, cost per lead, cost per show, I even like cash per call, and then cost per call.
That. Can you outline the difference between those?
Okay, so good examples. You get a lead, maybe someone fills out a form or whatever else, then they book an appointment, and then some of them cancel, some of them no show. So that's your cost per showed appointment.
Yeah.
Now, I also want to think about, of those, say I took 10 appointments and I sold $20,000 worth of stuff. I like to think about my cash per showed appointment. And so if I know that it cost me, $100 to get an appointment, and I get $2,000 in cash, well, how many appointments would I put on my calendar?
Yeah.
The answer is as many as we have capacity for a sales team for. Then our next thought is okay, now that we've filled up our sales team's capacity, how do we get a bigger sales team? How do we get more on ads? And that's the easiest proxy for, I know that each call is going to give me 200 or 2,000, whatever it is, dollars in cash. It also helps the sales team and the owner follow up on the leads a hell of a lot more, because they know this is $2,000 to me on average. I need to get after this.
One thing you said, Charles, that I really, really love was talking not just about, okay, how many leads can we bring in, but truly about capacity, because we have to be working in concert, CFO, CMO, head of operations, they all need to be working in concert together, because otherwise we're going to fill the pipeline too much, and then we're going to have angry leads because we don't actually have the capacity to fulfill on either the appointment or even the project, and we're bumped out 10 to 12 weeks. And these customers like, well, I don't want to wait that long. Well, we just paid all that money in the advertising costs, having the customer support reach out to them, having the sales team go out, but then ops is too far out. So it really needs to be, head of sales, head of operations, marketing, and financial teams meeting together and having these conversations. So, okay, going back to the small business, a lot of times the owner is all of those people. So how would you advise them to just even start having these conversations with themselves? Let's say they were going to sit here and we were going to tell them, okay, if you were going to do 2 things on the marketing front, 2 things on the financial front, what would you say on the financial front?
If we're starting from zero, and I love what you mentioned before about all 3 of those positions working together. It can be really powerful when you're balancing ops plus marketing plus finance. And so that's how companies grow really, really quickly and profitably, is all 3 of those working together. So I love that point. Now, it depends upon where they are in their financial journey, right? Do they have books? Do they have, financials taken care of? Are they caught up on their taxes?
Yeah.
Do they have operating metrics? If I was thinking, if I had the basics covered, right? If I got books, I would like to think around, if we're trying to grow a small business, and our first thought is trying to get more capacity. If we know we're profitable, if I've got our book set up, I would go into some of the metrics that we were talking about earlier. Would probably be the bigger things to do.
Okay.
So I would. So I have like a sneeze coming on. I'm like trying to hold it back.
Yeah, I
I was
thought
like,
it
it was like my eyes are watering, but it's like it won't come. So yeah, I think if we're just it depends on if we have our books done. So if we don't have books done, we need to get books done. Get a bookkeeper,
right.
get those done. After that, the next thing that I would do is I would start to think about, what is a new customer worth to me from a
Mm,
profit perspective? Because there's revenue, there's profit. Profit's what you get to keep. And then I would start diving into thoughts on how can I get more of them. Maybe it's if I'm doing all three of those things, I would probably try and get someone like you to do the marketing, right? Because most small business owners aren't good at marketing; they're not good at finance. So I would really try to install the right people in the right positions
mm.
after I've got my basics covered, and I would worry about operating the business and help the people do the marketing or do the finance for me.
Yeah. So like the owner effectively move to operator. Own like if you're an owner, solo man show, get support on the marketing and financial side because you know the business. And then the next step after that would be to probably get an operator under you once you're in a position financially. And then that way you can kind of operate as a true founder and true owner. And Charles, that lends to another question of like, a lot of these owners are the operators and therefore they actually don't have the luxury of time or they
Mhm.
haven't taken it, right? We're never victims. So I'll say that they have not taken the time. They have not
Yeah.
taken the time to realize, what do I even want? Do I actually love working and do I want to be the operator? So in my family business, my brother and I came on as partners, and my dad found that as my brother was working in the field, manning the field, my dad loved business development. He was like, I want to play golf and I want to solidify these partnerships. And he was so excited. And so there's something really beautiful about these owners who are currently acting as operators having and taking the opportunity to examine, what do I even want for my business? What's my exit strategy? What do I want long term? What's my ideal for my role? How have you guided owners as they're kind of examining the future? What kind of a question or two would you pose to them for them to answer this question for themselves?
I like to think about what gives them energy, right?
Mm,
Because there are parts of my business that I love. And I will like I'm a finance guy. So like if I'm building a new like, ooh, I'm gonna test this webinar and the sales call funnel and this and that. Couple weekends ago, I sat in front of Microsoft Excel for 6 hours. And my wife comes in my office and she's like, "You okay?" I was like, I just looked at her and blinked, and she was like, "You've been in here and you haven't like done anything." I was like, I just looked at her. I was like, "Oh, I've been locked in for 6 hours." I was just having a blast, like building a financial model because
I
that's my
love
zone of
it.
genius, and that's what I love.
Yes.
And so for the business owner, I would think of what is their zone of genius and how
Mm,
can we put more time into that?
mm.
Um, Years ago, I did some work on like mastering the skills that we have and our strengths. So, are you right-handed or left-handed?
Right-handed.
Okay. So if you write your name left-handed, it's probably not going to be very good, right? If you write it as fast as you can, as neat as you can, you'll never be anywhere near your right hand, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So if you set out tomorrow to be a master calligrapher, are you going to use your right hand or your left hand?
Right hand.
Okay. So like if you're going to grow your business, are you going to focus on the things that you hate and you're terrible at? Or are you going to
Mhm.
get those to someone else and you're going to get really darn good at the things that you love and you're good at?
Yes, that's
So
so good.
I want to put the business owner in front of that thing, learn just enough not to be detrimental on the things that are weak, and then push all of that out to experts. So, like, example with your dad loved sales and signing on new clients. He probably brought you on for marketing, probably brought some of your brothers on for ops and other things. And the business probably grew a ton because he was in his zone of genius, you and yours, your other siblings and theirs. And it was probably better for everyone. So
Yeah.
find your zone of genius, dive hard into that, get other people to do the other stuff.
Right.
You don't have to be
That's the
Superman
business
and
stuff.
all your business.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I love that, Charles. And I think that there's, in terms of almost like the qualities necessary, I feel like humility has to be one of those, where it's a willingness to take off that hat and hand it to somebody else. That's really hard. I would imagine humility and letting go of control. What are others that are necessary?
Oh gosh. I mean, I'm eating both of those now as we hire and grow more people, and they're starting to make mistakes, and I want to jump in and be like, "I'll say it." Nope,
Yes.
nope. Hands off. Let them do it. So that's that. There's some effort required in that.
Yes.
I think when we're looking to make those things, you really hit it with humility.
Mm,
One of the things I've noticed, especially when bringing other people on,
mm,
I'm really slow to hire someone and I'm really quick to remove them. I had this
mm.
conversation with my wife years ago and it changed how I think because I'm one of those people that sees the potential in everyone. I'm like, oh, they have that potential. Like I see it and I believe in people. It's good and bad. It's good because you see the potential and like I've grown a
Right.
lot in my life and I assume others can do the same and they can. They just most people don't. Um,
Mm,
I changed my mindset, and when I hire people now, it's like a sports team. You don't
mm.
hire the baseball player who could be good. You hire the best pitcher possible. So I'm not going to hire the guy who can throw a 68 mile an
Yes.
hour fastball. I'm hiring the guy who can throw 103 miles an hour, who's a genius in that one specific skill, who's amazing. And I only put them in there. So I'm
Mm,
hiring experts and people who are amazing, and I will pay them more.
right.
But, like, you pay
Right.
someone 20, 30% more, you're gonna get 200% result. It's a great investment for you, for them. So, for me, hire the best people possible is
Mm,
the other mindset is changed, and if they're not good, remove them. Like, if a pitcher is bad and, people get 3 or 4, home runs on them in a row, what do?
yeah.
Replace them.
Yeah.
And so, I run my business like a sports team,
Yeah.
and we have a much better time. It's a different school of thought. But
Mm,
I'm humble enough to know that I'm a sucky pitcher.
yeah.
I'm
Right.
really good at right field and first base, pitcher terrible. So
Mm,
get the best people for that and let them grow my business. So
mm.
it's kind of a thought that I have.
I really, really, really love that. And to your point about team, people who have been on a sports team in the past have a very different mindset than the person who was a solo tennis player, where it was all about them and it was up to them to win. And the
Are
people
you a
who
solo tennis player?
no, I'm not. I actually want to start taking tennis lessons though. I miss playing sports. This is totally an aside. Man, I want to join like a pickup volleyball team, or I found a batting cage close by, so I'm just going to start playing. Charles, we don't play enough. So, for everyone listening, go play this weekend.
Well, I'm learning how to fly. That's my plane right now.
Are you? Yes, you are. I remember you telling me that. Okay,
It,
and where have you flown?
just South Florida, right?
Okay.
So just South Florida. You have to get good before they let you go out of the country yet.
Yeah.
We're doing baby
Here's how
steps.
that works.
Yeah, you don't
Well,
you don't want me like, flying over the ocean. I'm like over the Everglades, so if I crash, I'm like just landing near the alligators, so I'm fine.
and the plane will keep you safe, obviously, with the alligators crawling on it. That's
Sure.
yep. Okay. One, and y'all, that's kind of why it's so important that we have partners in our business, individuals supporting our business, whether they're fractional, a member of the team, or otherwise, is so that we have the freedom to live the life that we want to live. That's really the goal, is that we have the ability to play and invest in our families, and that we don't look back 20 years from now and we're like, man, I really missed out on my baby girl growing up, or on my kids' graduation? You know, what are we sacrificing because we're not taking the steps necessary to get our books in order or really solid lead flow, and we don't take the time to really understand our business. So with that, Charles, I'm hopeful and excited that you and I can do something where we do a deeper dive and really kind of maybe pull up QuickBooks and show people how to kind of maneuver it. So we're going to be launching the Knowing community here pretty soon. And I just think that would really serve people. You know, we all need it. I know I need it. So I think it would be really great to get more deeper insight into your expertise. So thank you, my friend.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Would love to do that. And if you're able to make just small changes in your business, right? If you go from not marketing to marketing and getting calls, you're able to grow your business a lot further. If you go from having zero information and trying to drive on the highway with a blindfold to, hey, let's take off the blindfold, let's put some headlights on the car.
Yes.
You're going to be able to go a heck of a lot further. And so happy to be helpful to your community, especially as you grow it, and get them a little bit more clarity on where they're going finances so that they can actually take home a lot more money that you're helping bring in the front door.
Yeah, let's go. Charles, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful